Gloria, thank you so much for tuning in and tapping into Take the Lead podcast. We so appreciate the value you have created, everything you are doing for the founders here. How are you doing today?
Doing well despite, all the things that's happened. And it's wonderful to speak to you. You're always so full of positivity. So that is the exact energy we need in these tough times.
And we need you more than ever. Of course, how you are just an expert in PR and giving value and showing other people how you don't even need to have an ad. You really don't need to have a lot, but you have created just such a method for us. And I would love to just dive deep into this and what inspired you to become an expert in PR? Because I know you get this question a lot about how you transitioned from being in the government and now look at you have created so many brands for yourselves and been featured in many other outlets as well, all by yourself. So I would love to just dive deeper into that.
For me, my life has always been very non-linear. Like some people have a career, they stick with it. But for me, it hasn't really been that way. And so I always make the metaphor that my life is like building the bus as I'm riding in it. So it's just kind of a work in progress. I consider myself a beginner. I think we're all learning things and evolving. But in terms of PR for me, for me, PR is so much more than just getting featured or media relations or, kind of the traditional media jargon. For me, it's really empowering the other person who's starting from, scratch, who doesn't have a website, who doesn't have, ad money. And how can I help them to compete with the big dogs in the room, right? How can I get them to feel empowered enough to tell their story confidently? Because I know we're all thought leaders in our own way. So it's about sharing your story to the world. It's about getting out there, stop hiding behind the curtains, because other people can benefit from your story. To me, that is what PR is. It's not so much about the features or the actual result. It's about the transformation.
That's amazing. And I love how you have said thought leaders, because we should all strive to be a role model. We should strive to be of service for other people. What is your definition of a thought leader?
For me, it's someone that has a point of view and someone who uses their divine gifts, if you will, their skills, and aligning it with the work that they do. So to me, that's what it is. It's just being true to yourself and then having a point of view and just not being a people pleaser. I think being in a position of leadership means that you have a point of view and you're not out there, not that you're trying to rock the boat or trying to play devil's advocate, but having a firm stance in your values and your worldview and not being afraid to share and knowing that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea and there's power in that.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Just before we pushed the record button, I was telling you how I came through just of 2020. I'm so done being perfect. And I feel like we all feel that way. We want to be perfect. We want to be liked by people. But if you just stand on your integrity and your values, your tribe will come to you naturally. How did you find your tribe and how did you attract the right people towards you by just being true to yourself?
I think when we start in a new industry, we're always trying to maybe copy what other people have done. We want a shortcut to success, right? And I think while that gets you somewhere in the short term, copying and echoing what other people have done, that's not going to build your brand, right? So sharing your vulnerabilities, sharing the times you failed, and sharing the lessons from those failures, that is what's going to make you have a unique point of view. So for me, I came from the government. I never worked a day in the PR agency. So I didn't start off knowing any journalists. I didn't have a Rolodex. And I just cold called, literally picking up the phone, Googling the number to New York Times newsroom, going from the operator to the intern to the assistant producer and just perfecting my elevator pitch from hundreds of times where I had 5 seconds to speak before they cut me off on the phone, right? So that rejection literally built my skill set, which is the elevator pitch. But I would not be where I am if I did not get that rejection. So I always call myself a kind of a failure champion as well. And actually on Clubhouse, if you're on Clubhouse, I put in there, share with me your favorite rejection story. I think we all need to stop just only talking about, what we've done. People want to buy from real people. People want to buy from people who you can relate to. And if you're all high and mighty, I'm perfect, I can do everything right, you're not really drawing that empathy bridge. So I really encourage you to not only just give value, but also share some of that vulnerability.
That's incredible, because those no's can sometimes discourage us to feel like we're not enough or to just keep us stagnant. I would love if you could share with us your rejection story. How did you become so unstoppable and not even fazed by the naysayers and the no's?
Well, it really started from not having any PR agency experience and knowing that the government path was not for me. So I had a really comfortable government job. I had a pension. I had a place that was paid for by the government. So all expenses paid. I was looking at 25 years in a very comfortable job. But my creative soul was dying. I was in a very toxic relationship where, it was not healthy and I wasn't happy. So on the outside, I lived a very perfect life. I had everything taken care of. I had this job that afforded me travel, but I was literally dying inside. I started having panic attacks. I started having depression, and I realized I had to make a change and live for myself. And I knew I wanted to work in PR, but I also didn't have any connections. And I never technically worked in PR. I applied for over 1,000 jobs. I had people putting in recommendations for me. I went to all the right schools, did the right things, but they wanted someone with a very fit in the box type of experience. And I just didn't have that. And I didn't want to start from the bottom again because I knew that I was a strong communicator. So what did I do? I just got this, random gig with a small startup. It was me and their two founders. And they said, sure. I mean, we don't have a finished product, but if you can get us in the news, I'm not going to say no to that. So they only paid me if I actually got them a feature, which it never happens, right? Because PR agencies will never give you a guarantee. And so I had to cold call and I had to just think of a way to get them featured or I wasn't going to get paid. So it started from there. And then I ended up getting them, on New York Times, Bloomberg, CNBC, and all the other ones. And I just kind of building on top of that. It's not like every time it's a slam dunk, right? Every company, every feature, every story has a unique point of view. And I have to find that. It takes some time. But over the times that I've picked up on what got an editor's attention and what just left it unanswered. And I made it into my CPR pitching method that I now teach for free to thousands of founders so that they can position themselves and know how to write an email that's going to go into the inbox of an editor and not feel super anxious about it.
Wow. And I love how you said in the beginning of this call that you're still learning and learning every step of the way, how you figured out just, okay, what gets them to open the email and how you perfected your elevator pitch. Can you talk to us more about the importance of an elevator pitch, especially since some people, talk a lot more and can't get straight to the point. So I would love to know your expertise on that.
I think there's different types of pitches. There's your marketing pitch where you're convincing someone you're the right fit and you're trying to close a sale. But for editors, journalists, legitimate journalists, they're not going to be able to be convinced just if you pay them, right? They're real journalists. They're looking for a story. So how do you get earned press where you're not paying an influencer, you're not paying for ads? And that is about giving value and stepping away from your product so that you're talking about the macro trends, maybe challenging beliefs or kind of the look ahead things for 2021, maybe giving 3 ways to, make wellness more inclusive, or if you're homeschooling, how to deal with an ADHD child. So you're basically kind of the way I pitched, onto this podcast, how you found me is providing value and ways for them to solve a problem as opposed to talking all about me, right? That is not going to make you super valuable. And it's going to, people always say people want to be understood before you seek to be understood. So I had to do research on the editor's previous works before I just pitched a client, right? So doing that research, offering service, and it really is kind of a metaphor for life, really.
That is, and especially adding value, that creates an own formula for itself. I love how you stated it's not just about me, what can you do for me? It's really about that teamwork and collaboration. Have you noticed, and I would love to get your standpoint on collaborating and just building that sisterhood, because you help founders, you help women as well. So I would love to know your stance on the importance of that.
100%. I think in a way, what happened with COVID and the way it obliterated my entire consulting pipeline was really the best thing that could have happened. Because before I was working with startups and I was kind of, working on their behalf and pitching for them. Now, as a creator of a digital product, I'm teaching the founders how to do it themselves so that they can fish for life, right? They don't have to keep depending on me or someone else. So there's kind of a mindset shift as well that I had to kind of get out of my own head. and realize that like people can do it. You just need to give them the tools and the right framework and the strategies. So that's really kind of how that happened. And now I'm able to serve founders who don't even have a website, who are crowdfunding on Kickstarter. Like my client Tanisha, she was crowdfunding for a gym during COVID. Not only does she not have a physical space and zero customers, we positioned her as a thought leader. She offered ways that the wellness and gym community can be truly inclusive, right? Because there was a huge wellness gap happening with COVID. And she got on Shape, Bustle, Well and Good, Pop Sugar, Time magazine, just from offering her experience as one of the only Black trainers at Equinox and what she noticed. So it doesn't, and she doesn't have a website. If you go onto her website, it's like coming soon,
Oh, that's incredible. That is incredible with that mindset shift that you have to challenge your own beliefs. How did you challenge your beliefs to truly shift your mindset? What strategies did you take? I would love to know more about that process, because how we stated before this, like, it's really the mind. The mindset is how you can really get to your success if you shift your mind.
I think when you're starting out in a new industry, if you don't have huge Rolodex of contacts, you really need to just give as much value for free as possible. I know a lot of people out there operate from the scarcity mindset. Oh, if I give too much, they're not going to buy from me. If I give them all this stuff for free, they're not going to pay for it. And I think it's the opposite. I think that's the only way you're going to build that trust and that rapport with someone. So I give away everything almost, like in my free master classes, roadmaps, strategies, checklists, everything. And I have people who are like redoing my website. They're like, I cannot believe you don't charge for this. And it's like, this is the only way I've been able to get 3,000 founders coming to my live master classes without a single ad, is by giving that stuff for free. Now, I don't think that you should keep doing that and just do hours and hours of free consults when you have, your system. But I think when you just start, it's so important to just give all of that away for free and operate from an abundance mindset.
Wow, the abundant mindset can truly like shift your whole atmosphere of your life. And I believe that, because the power in free, and how you said that's really how you build trust, because now you are positioning yourself to just be of service for other people and want them to reach their highest potential as well. I love how you also talk about the follow-up game. It has to be strong. So how do we follow up with not looking so pushy? What's a healthy balance in that?
Well, I think as long as you have your pitch nailed down, and my CPR method helps you go from a pushy seller of a product to a true thought leader, you're going to be able to follow up infinite amount of times, because you are sending the message that I have information that's going to help your audience, as opposed to I need your eyes on this so that you can buy from me, right? It's that transformation. And as long as you can step away from selling and start providing value, you're not going to be hesitant to keep following up. So that is the kind of the mental game that you need to make, where it's like, I'm sitting on information that can literally help people.
And we need that information. A lot of people need just value and knowledge, because that is where the power lies. Talk to us more about your CP method and what you have created.
So from thousands of times, cold emailing editors, because again, I never studied journalism. I didn't have contacts. I had to just figure out, how was I going to cut through the noise? How was I going to get my subject lines robust enough so that they would actually want to click open my email, right? I came up with this method called my CPR method, where if you incorporate all three things, your pitch is 99% of the way there. So C stands for credibility. You need to put in very simple terms, again, one sentence, why you're in the position to speak on it. So this is not your chance to flash all of things you've done, maybe one or two things. I'm a founder, or I am the first female founder to do this, or I am whatever, right? And then the P stands for point of view. So your point of view on where the industry is headed, your point of view on why the problem is, so severe that you need to help people. So it could be a list of 3 actionable items. Like I said, for wellness, right? It could be, these are the trends that are happening in order to close the wellness gap. These are 3 immediate steps gyms can take right now to truly be inclusive and advocate for change, right? It could be, if you want to incorporate a vegan diet, how can you do that in 3 simple ways without, you know, your food tasting bad or whatever it is, right? So actionable, think actionable. I like 3s as well. And then R is relevance. This is where founders get stuck, and it's the most important piece because it tells the person on the other side, this pitch is not just some pitch that you've recycled from 5 years ago. This is taking into account the here and now, the new reality that we live in, right? Whether it's COVID or BLM or diversity inclusion or more female founders stepping onto the stage, you don't want to be tone deaf to that. So wrapping that up in the CPR method, having all 3 things really touches upon the key elements that's going to position you as a thought leader and not just someone that's trying to sell your product.
That is genius, Gloria. That is so genius. And that's just so amazing how you have created that and didn't have any experience whatsoever. That is so huge for me. And I love about just the importance of building relationships. Those that are shy with networking, how should they boost their confidence?
You know, again, I think in terms of shyness and putting yourself out there, it's that mental shift. And as long as you can position yourself as a thought leader, and I've given you the CPR method, you don't feel like you're bothering someone. So really step into the place where you have very helpful information to share. And you really need to believe that, because that is the energy that you're going to need to take in order to follow up and outcompete people with fancy PR agencies that's pushing their stuff, right? So that is the number one, like, mental thing that you need to get into as a founder, where it's like, because let's be honest, we're not making a product. We're trying to shape the world. That's, I believe, at the heart of every entrepreneur is that intention. So whenever you're putting yourself out there, tap back into the intention, why you even founded this, why you even chose this, like, you know, path that's really not as comfortable as having a 9-to-5 job, right? It's because you felt like there was a problem that needed to be solved and you wanted to do that. So tap into that. That is number one. Number 2 is, you know, if you're not comfortable being on like a, you know, video or whatever, maybe start out small. You can join Clubhouse, right? You can get on a podcast and, you know, practice that before you maybe do like a TV spot or something. Or if you don't feel like sharing via your voice, you can start contributing and writing first. So whatever is most comfortable for you, but it does take practice. It's kind of like a muscle, right? First time I did a podcast, I was a nervous mess. I was stuttering. I didn't know which points to hit. First time I did my live webinar was a hot mess. But now I've done so many of them, and every time I know exactly the anecdotes to tell, exactly which ones are going to, you know, light you and your audience up. How am I going to be able to draw the empathy bridge? But it takes practice.
Yes. Oh, that is perfect, because it really does. I feel like practice makes progress in the end, and knowing that this is truly a journey. If you see that this is your mission, this is your purpose in life, what is truly the rush? I feel like you should just enjoy this journey as well. So how do you enjoy your journey through the ups, through the downs, especially through COVID? How are you maneuvering and keeping this momentum, keeping this energy every single day?
You know, I think being an entrepreneur, you feel like unless you're constantly grinding, like you're not doing enough, right? Because you have to be your own advocate. So there are days where I know that I've achieved more than I thought, but I still feel like I am not doing enough, or I need to launch more. And I get into this very bad spiral. So I have to keep reminding myself that, like, I am enough. Right. And just because something is not like a money making activity, like if I, you know, do a podcast, or if I jump on an IG live and I just feel like just spitting out whatever I want to say, it's not going to lead to sales, but I need to get something off my chest. That's okay too. So kind of recalibrating that within me is like, A, you are enough, and B, like not everything has to lead to like a sale or whatever kind of your benchmark is. And again, it's just me getting away from my intention. The more I feel like I'm not doing enough, the further away I am from my intention of helping people. So I need to get back to the intention, where it's like not everything has to have an outcome that's like a material, tangible outcome. It could be making one person feel good in the DMs.
I love that, Gloria. Like, standing on your why is so important, especially just in this realm that we're in, because right now they are driving us to be very materialistic. Like, what can I gain from this? But realizing the true divine calling on your life is so important. And I'm just so impressed with your social media, just everything that you give and the value, and you only have a LinkedIn and an Instagram, and how you have just touched so many people's lives, and you have no ads. That is so impressive, Gloria. I hope you know. Tell us the secret sauce. You're truly in your own lane. And I feel like that is just the power. You're not doing what everybody else is doing. You're doing what works for you. And how did you identify that?
I think there's nothing wrong with ads. I think as your business scales, it's okay to use ads, right? But I think that ads being the magic bullet is stepping away from your service, because you're saying that, okay, there's a shortcut and I'm just going to like run all these ads without listening to your audience, without asking for feedback from people who've actually bought from you. So I actually launched a digital product, the PR Starter Pack. It's the world's first agency level toolkit with a database, everything at a fraction of the cost. And I was so excited about getting it out there that I was actually afraid to ask people who bought how I can improve it, because I didn't want either to get my feelings hurt or whatever kind of limiting beliefs, what have you. And I realized the only way I was truly going to scale this product and make it even better is by asking every single person who I've bought how I can make it better, right? And not taking offense to that. So that is kind of one thing that I had to do this week, was like asking everyone, like, tell me the good, tell me the bad, like how. So that's the one thing. And then after you have a funnel that works, after you really have surveyed your customers instead of just guessing, because none of us are psychic, then you can run ads. So I'm at a point in my business where I have enough people who have bought from me organically. They all love it. And they've told me the ways I can even get them results quicker. And after I've incorporated their feedback, I'm ready to run ads. But I don't think you should start a business being like, oh, I'm just going to run ads and like not listen at all to like your audience and what they need.
Yes, listening to your audience is so important. Giving value is so important. What gets your attention on social media? I would love to know what type of brand, a thought leader, what stands out for you, and how can you give them advice or pointers and feedback to take them to the next level, and what you see on social media?
I will say I'm not a social media expert. There's just so many different platforms, right? It's just like every time I master one, it's like, oh, everyone's on this now. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? So now there's like Clubhouse. And then I just perfected LinkedIn and I got it really, really fine tuned. And then it's like Instagram. So, I will say, stop trying to chase everything. Not everything is for everyone. For example, Pinterest is not really my thing. YouTube, I don't have time for it. So I've decided I want 2 platforms. And so Instagram is one of them, because female founders, especially female founders of color, are the people who buy from me the most. And that's my clientele. So for me, that is one. Another thing is I had to realize, building my own Instagram, that like aesthetics don't really matter. Because I think in the beginning you're like, oh, I want this font to be pretty. And it's like, that's not going to be what's going to help your clients get results. So I had to just let go of that limiting beliefs and just have a messy feed. And then I had to figure out like, okay, how do I get my post to really resonate? And I found out that the posts where I'm sharing my vulnerability, where I'm sharing how miserable I was in my previous job, those are the posts that got like 3 times more than some of the other like tips and tricks ones. So I will say like, A, fuck the aesthetics, sorry, pardon my French. And B, just share your stories of failure, of burnout. And if you look across the board at other coaches, other entrepreneurs, those are the ones that get the most. I think we're just so running dry of like real connection. Everyone's like, I did this and 10x this and 6-figure this. It's like, give me a break. Like that's great and all, but like, what's going to distinguish you from everyone else that's saying the same thing?
Exactly. That is so true. I love that, because right now, I love how you said just the aesthetics don't mean anything. I think your page is phenomenal. Just the value that you give, it's overwhelming, because it's like, oh, you're pointing at so many avenues, and I love the feed. And I can't believe that Instagram has us in our head about trying to perfect that and make it all be organized. It has to be a certain font, a certain color, but it's just about post the content and just create. I feel like we're losing our creative abilities. How do you stay creative knowing that?
Well, I think chatting with people like you and getting on podcasts and really just letting the conversation flow, you realize the bigger themes in entrepreneurship. That's not like, I know best, let me tell you. So I think there are 30% of posts that are like, how can I help you? But now, from learning that when I share personal stories, those actually do the highest. I'm actually pivoting my strategy. I'm going to share more failures. I'm going to share the points in the painful nights where I got really burnt out, or like what worked and what doesn't, and what I wasted money on, and those types of things, because I know that actually works a lot better. And just basically like having a point of view, like what bugs me, and what I don't really like. Not calling anyone out, but I think it's always like, oh, I'm your BFF, internet BFF, like everyone nice and get along. And it's like, have a personality,
Yes, I feel you so wholeheartedly. But of course, like right now, they're trying to censor everything. I would love to know like your thought process and where do you see the future going. I know, we're not psychic or anything, but it honestly like made me realize we are being censored more than ever now. We're being watched on social media. We're losing our free will to even speak how we want to speak. And now that's why everyone's so sensitive.
Well, that's why it's so important that you keep doing what you're doing, because I think podcasts are one of the last authentic ways to connect with somebody. When you put text up with a caption and nice graphics, like that's not you, right? But having a podcast and having someone really listen to you, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, they're going to understand the arc of your story that you can't communicate in a post. So I think it's so important that you exist and that people just try to not only like develop, talent on, supporting podcasters, either trying to be on podcasts or just advocating for the people who have already built a platform. It's so important that our voice be heard. And podcasting is really one of the key elements of having that authentic, unfiltered voice. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And for anyone listening out there, I have an entire podcast pitching strategy. So if someone feels like they are ready to share their story and not be censored or cut off, like the way I'm sharing with you, go on my website, send me a DM at Gloria Chou PR, and I'm more than happy to share with you how you can pitch using my CPR method so you can get on your first podcast. And I promise you, you will feel so empowered. You will feel so good after connecting with someone on a podcast. You're just going to be addicted. You're just going to want to pitch to more and more and more and more.
Yes. Share your story. Like, I just appreciate you, Gloria, for you sharing your story because you're so relatable, especially like helping women of color get their message out there more than ever, because that's so necessary. And especially like being independent too. Like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to give you the fish. And that's like so incredible to me. I would love to know what is in the starter pack, since you created that for us. What is in that bag?
Woohoo. So from starting from zero, having no PR agency experience and no Rolodex of journalists, I realized that to get on an editor's, to pitch successfully and get press, you need two things. You need to know who are the people who are covering your industry. So not editor-in-chief at Fast Company, because they're not reading your pitch. They're doing their own book tour, right? So if you're in fashion and beauty, who is the fashion editor? Who is a staff writer who covers beauty, right? You need to have detailed information, their email, where they are on social media. What is their last article, so that you can compliment them and break the ice. That is the first step. Second step is you need to find a winning, pitch angle. That's not, oh, I have a product, buy my product, right? That is at the heart of my CPR method. So the PR Starter Pack gives you a database of over 30,000, I think it's at 40,000 now, journalists across 50 different industries. That is like detailed level information that would otherwise cause you like 10 grand, right? I have it all organized for you. And then I have examples of every pitch that I wrote for founders who don't even have a website sometimes, how they got on the bus on Well and Good and Fast Company, so that you can, with a video explaining why I wrote the subject line that way, why I left some things out, and why I wrote the concluding paragraph. So you can start to practice in your mind how I write pitches. And then I have my LinkedIn training. If you have a physical product like candles or, something that's a physical product, you might want to get into a gift guide. So whether it's Valentine's Day or Christmas, right? I had a founder who used a starter pack and just plugged and played her product and got into like 5 gift guides, and she makes soaps in her garage, y'all. Like, it's not some fancy thing, right? So it is possible. And it's just for every industry. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a thought leader, even if you don't make a physical product, there's lists and pitches in there for you. PRstarterpack.com.
Yes, we need that starter pack. Oh, the value and how you created the media list as well. I would love to know if you could just sprinkle a little status of strategy, how you built your media list with no experience like that.
Well, I mean, there's tons of paid services out there that you can pay a lot of money for, but I've just pitched for so many people across so many industries. I've like compiled them throughout the years. And you can still like obviously get a database and pay for that. That's going to cost you like 10 grand a year. But for me, it's not just about the contacts, it's how you use it, right? Like journalist information are out there. So you can get that. Right. But to be very concise with who you're going to target, so you're not just spinning your wheels for hours and hours, like going on Google, that's going to save you time and energy. And then also walking you through the step of how to write a subject line, how to write an email that converts, and how to follow up within 24 hours via DMs. That is a comprehensive strategy that I teach so that you can keep building that organic relationship. Because the thing with marketing and ads is the moment you stop putting money to it, the faucet is dry. But if you can build a relationship like the one we're building right now on this podcast with you, right? Whoever, whether it's a beauty editor at Elle or whoever, then there's no limit to the amount of times you can be featured. Right. So that is really the gold in that. But that's going to take time. It's going to take practice. And so that is what the PR Starter Pack gives you all the tools of confidence that you can do all of those things with ease.
Yes. And the key word is time. And of course, I know you notice a lot of people use that excuse, oh, I don't have enough time. It's that mindset shift. It really has to be the mindset shift. And truly it's a building a relationship takes time. Building trust takes time. And I love that you are just so realistic with this journey and how you give us actionable steps to take and how to maneuver and just to grow and to elevate. Gloria, I just appreciate your time so much. Tell us what's next for 2021 and how we can stay in touch with you.
Well, I think today is like the day of authenticity because I don't know if your listeners know this, but my intern forgot to put this on the calendar. So I'm literally sitting here in PJs and my fleece and you ping me and you're like, I'm ready. I don't even have my hairbrush. I don't have lip gloss on. My eyebrows are not filled in. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to turn on my camera and here we are. I might have even like some stains on my sweatshirt, but just doing it.
Like, you don't understand how it meant so much for me, how you instantly respond. Like, it just shows me your spirit and your character, how you instantly respond and you hopped on, no judgment whatsoever. And this was just so much value was given. I was looking so forward to this experience. So I'm so happy that you made time and we got on and had this honest dialogue. It just shows me so much, and this relationship is just going to continue to flourish. I just thank you so much, Gloria, for your time, your spirit, and your energy.
Thank you so much for being such a ray of light. You're always so positive, and I look forward to seeing you more on Instagram. I'm looking forward to helping founders pitch so that they can get on your podcast the way that I did today, and just making those connections on their own, because they also have really insightful stories to hear that can really benefit people, so.
Yes. Do you have a masterclass coming up, and how can listeners get in touch with you?
Oh, you are too kind. So I do host master classes live pretty much every month, and people are like, I cannot believe you do that. But I just, that energy in the room, getting founders. At one point I had like 300 founders in the room from all over the world, like from Ghana to, to London, to Singapore. And that synergy is great. So I do host my master classes where I actually walk you through step by step the strategies I told you with actual like pitch breakdowns. And so you can go to Gloria Chou PR, that's CHOU, PR.com/webinar, and you can check the next one out. But I am doing something different for January. I think, we're starting a new year. We want something fresh. So for the first time ever, I am doing a 5-day PR challenge where I will teach you in mini trainings how to find your newsworthy angle. So that by the end of the 5 days, you're going to know exactly how to write a pitch, which subject lines work and which ones don't. And that way you're going to be so much more confident. Next time you come across someone on Instagram who's a journalist, how do you DM them? How do you get on their radar, right? That is the essence of this 5-day PR challenge. And I look forward to sharing that. And that's going to be on getfeaturednow.com. I'm building out everything for it. There's a lot of work. And I want to offer the first one for free because I really, again, I'm all about value. I'm all about feedback. And if people can get results from you, they're going to buy from you again and again and again. So that is really why I want to do this for free.
Oh, you're truly a blessing, Gloria. I just thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. And I know I'm signing up, honestly. So I can't wait to just continue to build this friendship. Thank you, Gloria. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in as well. We truly appreciate you. And we're going to see you at the top.